well, I hate to admit this, but this is sort of a do-over. This refrigerator's are giving me some trouble. Initially, a while back, I changed the circuit board in the back. Let me show you the circuit board. Back here. Full of all kinds of components. I took it apart and it was had a big old fried place on the back of the computer. So, of course, that was bad, but my mistake was assuming that was the only bad component. Because after I put that in, holy crap, what was that? We got a big windstorm coming up, blowing things around, scaring me. Anyway, where was that? Okay. After I've replaced the circuit board, still I was having issues. First of all, let me explain a little bit how the airflow works in these things. Of course, you got a fan up in here, and it sucks the warm air from the bottom, pulls it up past all your cold coils, and then gets blowed through here, through this little door. And the computer controls all this stuff. All the stuff's going on. Compute controls when that door is open and when it's closed. Controls the fan, the compressor, and all that stuff through that computer board. But what talks to the computer is these little sensors, thermistors, I think their technical name. And you've got 3 thermistors. So you got a thermistor here that sits up here in the refrigerator, tucks right behind this little pipe. That's thermistor 1, so it monitors the refrigerator side temperatures. Then you also got a thermistor down here in the very bottom. You see how I cut it out because I'm fixing to test it. It measures the lower temperature. And then you got one right here that measures the temperature. And it does a lot more than that. It counts how many times the door is opened in a 24-hour period. It measures how long the door is open for, how much time it's open, how long the compressor has been running. It does all these calculations to calculate and figure out when to turn on the defrost and how long to run the defrost. There's one other little component here. It's a little safety device. This right here. If for whatever reason it gets stuck and doesn't shut off, based on the thermistors telling the computer what temperature it is, and you got this little device that will break the connection and turn everything off if it gets too hot. I forget before it starts melting plastic, because you got a heating element down here. This thing gets red hot. This heating element, that heat comes up through and melts all the frost off. So I'm going to take these 3 thermistors out, put them in a cup of ice that should be around 32 degrees, and measure the resistance on each one, and see if I can't track down the bad one. Okay, as you can see, 32.2 degrees, that's what a cup of ice water is. Got a very sensitive device here that tells me that. So, we got to look at that. I jumped up 34 degrees just by taking it out for a second. So, alright, so I'm going to put my thermistors in there, then I'll measure the resistance on each one and see what it tells me. Okay, so I got thermistor number 1 in the glass of ice water. Coming in about 14.28. I believe the spec is around 16 ohms of resistance, so pretty close. That looks good, so I'll plug up another one and see what the next one reads. Okay, so I've just hooked up thermistor number 2, and it's a little bit higher, coming in at 22 ohms. It's out of spec. All right, so I got one more to check. Okay, so I've got the third one hooked up, and that's 14.17. That's on this one. So we've got 2 is in range, 1 is out of range. So I think I found the culprit. Alright, so we'll get a new one and see what we can do. Okay, I want to explain these symptoms a little bit better. Initially, kind of what starts happening is that actually when I first plugged this up in the garage to bring it in here and troubleshoot it, after I plugged it up within 3 or 4 hours, the refrigerator was already down to 10 degrees. Should be between 30 and 40. So I knew something was wrong because it was getting super cold super fast. But eventually what will happen is, because it's not going into defrost mode, it's just running wide open, this will eventually turn into a block of ice, shutting the flow of air off. So then the fridge side, because the airflow is no longer coming in because there's so much ice over here, blocks the airflow, then this starts to warm up. It gets too warm, you know, your stuff won't keep. But you'll notice the freezer is still ice cold. So so that's a good indication that it's froze up completely. The airflow is blocked, you know, because all the air that enters the fridge side must come from the freezer side. It comes over, blows through that little regulator door up here, and keeps itself balanced from one to the other. Because you've only got one set of coils, not like you got two sets of coils. Maybe in some fridges you do, but most you don't. But now that I know which thermistor is bad, I'm going to put them in and plug her up, and we'll see what happens. Okay, you see I got my wires ready to go. It doesn't matter which way they go, you can't mess it up. And I like these little connectors I have. Push on here and crimp them down real good with a good pair of crimpers like this. They do a great job. I've already done that one, and you can see I've added some clear silicone to the connection so no moisture can get down into the wire. So we want to keep that connection good and dry. So I just got to put this one in, squeeze it. This other side, you know, really all I have to do is just plug it back up. I didn't have to cut any wires or anything. So it just goes right back up in here, put a couple screws in it, like that. And then that'll be done. It just plugs in simple. And you see this thermistor tucks in behind this right here. So I'm going to get that done, and I'll be ready to plug this up. Let it run a few hours, and hopefully it'll start acting normal. Alright, I thought I'd mention this to you, because if you go to take this apart, you may find this a little odd and tricky about getting this back panel out. But I've done it, so I know what to do anyway, because initially it's down like this, up a little bit, and it can be a pain to get out, and especially if you've had ice in there, it won't want to come out. Because you'll see the slip down here, and it looks, and you got all these pieces of plastic giving you fits. So you have to slide up on it really high so it clears the bottom. Once it clears, then you rotate it this side, then it pops right out. So anyway, that's how you get that panel out. So I'm going to put it back in, put a couple screws in it, and we'll be ready to plug her up. Well, good news. You see that? That's red hot heat. That tells me the refrigerator is now entered defrost mode. Let me turn this light on so you can see where I'm at. There we go. So with the light on you can't tell, but it is in defrost mode. And you see the water dripping. When you undo the bulb, you see how red hot it is? It's that heating element at the bottom of the refrigeration coils heating up. And that heat rises up through the top, melts off all the frost. So I think this will be a fixed fridge. I'm going to let it run for a few more days just to make absolutely sure. What's the temperature here? That's 39 degrees in the refrigerator side. So I think we may have whooped it, but I'm going to let it run a few more days just to make sure, then I'll give you an update. Well, here we go. I think this is going to be fixed. I consider it fixed anyway. We got 3 degrees in the freezer, 35 degrees in the refrigerator. Got this new little digital thermometer. It's more precise than those other little thermometers I was using. Also the fact that remember we're in a garage down here, and it is, what are we looking at? Yeah, 90 degrees, very humid. So if it can maintain those temperatures in this garage, it'll do great once it's in the house. And I've confirmed it's fixed because it's been here about 5 days, and I've watched it go through the defrost cycle at least 3 times. The way I confirmed that is the little P-tube, I pulled it out, so instead of going into this tray and then later evaporating, I let it squirt out onto the ground. So every day I come out here and I see a fresh puddle of water, I know that it went through defrost and that it's doing its job. And everything's staying nice and cool. And remember, this was fixed for just a little $10 defroster, or no, this is a thermistor. That's what that thing's called. There's 3 of them in there, and this one was bad. So that's all it took, $10 part, and she's up and running, all good to go. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. When yours conks out, maybe you can fix yours yourself. Have a great day.